urgent that needs to be added to the agenda?
No, sir.
Something is loading.
Yeah.
What is loading?
Oh,
Why is this loading?
I don't have that.
Oh,
I have it too.
just ignore it.
Oh, it's asking for,
Oh, am I for or against?
Oh, because I have my stuff up over here.
No, but why is it coming up on the iPads?
Because I can send it for a vote.
okay,
Oh,
I haven't, and I will, it's all good.
we'll review that another time. We don't need to use that for today.
Yeah, you guys don't
You
need to.
just X out of that?
Yeah, you
okay, well,
just
I'll
X
move
out
for
of-
adoption.
Okay, yep, James for adoption of the agenda. Any discussion? And all in favor? That is approved. And, item C, accounts payable.
Good for information. Well.
Matt for information. Is there any questions about the accounts payable? Larry, go ahead.
Check number 86086 for $274,798.77. What's that for?
That was part of the resolution that came out of the closed session, sir.
So that's for purchase orders,
The two purchase orders, yeah.
64899 and 64900?
Yes, sir.
And we don't know what they are for, or the,
Because you and I don't need to know.
because we don't need to know.
We don't need to know.
I'm sorry,
what
sir, it
about
was
the-
closed session. I can't reveal anything that was discussed in closed session.
Yeah,
But
and
now that it's being paid with public funds, nobody can find out what that's about. Eh?
It's in the accounts payable listing.
Could you say that again?
It's in the accounts payable listing.
yeah,
Yeah, it's in the accounts payable, but what has the electric and the citizens paid for?
That was in closed session, sir. I can't say anything.
So I think according to the MGA right now, this is the only information that can be released for now.
yeah. And you
For
and-
now.
And you and I were not in that session, so
Okay.
Need to eat it. People can't hear you if you talk this far away from your.
Is that not close enough?
Wait, you gotta get right in there, Chris.
Oh. Okay. Sorry to interrupt, Larry, if you had more to say on that, go ahead.
No, apparently it's none of my business.
According to the MGA.
Now you
According
understand,
to-
Larry.
I don't think it's the MGA, but
No?
That's,
Well, you are allowed to study that and debate it if you like. Is there any other questions about any other payables?
yeah, I got one.
Yes, go ahead, James.
So there's multiple payments on here for employees' cell phone per policy. Is that just like we reimburse once a year for personal cell phone use, or?
Yes, sir. So there's a few of us that use our own cell phones.
Yeah.
And then we're reimbursed once a year. Policy allows for $25 a month.
Okay.
Then you just pay that out of your pocket in the meantime, and then once a year you get it paid back. So is
Yeah,
this
we pay our-
retroactively?
Yeah, so we pay our full cell phone bill from January to December, and we can submit once a month if we wanted to, but that's just a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. So that's for $25. Okay, James, you said you had a couple?
Oh, no. One question, just there were a couple payments.
Oh, okay, I'm
that
sorry,
were
I
all the same.
misunderstood.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything? I had a question, but I don't remember. The RCMP statement, that's just a quarterly payment that we give to them, is that correct?
Correct, sir.
Okay, if that's all the questions. I will call it to vote. All in favor? And opposed? One opposed. That is carried. Cash investment summary. Somebody can move that for information.
Yeah, I'll move.
James? Any questions about the cash investment summary? I see none. Call that to vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Okay. Moving on to delegation from
Sergeant Corti.
Sergeant Corti, yes. I want to make sure I got the title correct.
Staff
Sergeant, correct.
Sorry.
So I still didn't.
I just demoted you, I apologize.
That's why the S is in front of sergeant.
district demoted me a couple weeks ago as well, so it happens all the time.
Ah,
All right. Well, thank you for having me. So yeah, I'll start off, I guess this letter, the one takeaway from here is that they are actually starting to roll out the body worn cameras that they've been talking about for the last 5 years. So they are going to be rolled out in the new year in Grand Prairie, Parkland, and St. Paul. Test them out, see how they're going, make sure they're working properly, and then the rest of the province will get them. So
how long is that test going for, do we know?
they didn't really give us that information, but I would suggest probably for at least a couple months anyway before they send them out to the rest of us. And then we don't know what a timeline will be for the rest of the detachments to get them, but within the year, I would think, once
Okay.
they approve them.
You must be upstanding police officers. They don't think you guys need them in Redcliff.
Or they're not. They're a welcome addition to any of our stuff. It helps us more than it will do anything else, so.
I think so.
So moving on, I guess, to the statistics and the priorities on the list. So I guess I went through and broke them down a little bit further than kind of what they have the numbers here. So within this quarter, now we're going back to July, August, and September. So break and enters, just to break it down so we kind of get an idea of what's going on. We had 8 total break and enters during that time to various types of properties. But 4 of them were actually just a property dispute between 2 old roommates that would keep showing up at each other's place. And they didn't end up going to any charges, but they're still classified in our books as a break and enter. One of them was a break and enter to a car wash, and it was a theft from a coin box. For that one, we did identify a suspect, but there was insufficient grounds to lay charges. Another one was a break and enter to a locked compound in the industrial area where a motor vehicle and a trailer were stolen, and on that one, we still didn't get any suspects or any people, but we did recover the vehicle in Drumheller. So it still kind of shows us that we're having people that are coming in, traveling criminals, and then moving along. One was a hotel, a break and enter to a hotel room. A tenant kind of walked in on somebody in their place, and then they walked away. That suspect was located and charged. And another break and enter was to a locked compound where they broke into some sea cans and stole some property. And that one there, we also didn't have any suspects or anything to go on with that one. So that kind of breaks down the 8 break and enter. So almost half of them weren't really what I would consider a break and enter. And so it just kind of skews the statistics a little bit. Within that area as well, I didn't really touch on many of the persons crimes. Over that quarter and year to date, we've seen a decrease in persons crimes throughout from January till September. We're down 23%, and most of those numbers there kind of reflect that as well. And the property crimes are kind of the biggest thing that people kind of see and hear about, and it affects them. So theft of vehicles within the town town limits. So we had that one theft of the truck and trailer from the industrial area that was recovered. There was I guess a travel trailer that was stolen from the industrial area as well. That one has not been recovered, and there were no suspects identified in there. And there was a theft of truck in a residential area, and that vehicle was recovered in Calgary and with no suspects. So what we're seeing is that there's people just passing through, and if they can get their hands on something, they're kind of taking off. They're not from here. They're looking for things of opportunity to steal, and that's where we were looking at other crime prevention initiatives. One of them was Project Lockup, which is called, and if we identify, which I think they did one in the Redcliff area this year, somewhere that is targeted more than once, and this seems to happen more and more. There's a local RCMP members, a community engagement unit that's within the RCMP, and also with our law enforcement partners like the Citizens on Patrol or Rural Crime Watch. They will come and do sort of a CPTED, a crime prevention through environmental design, kind of talk with them, maybe to see if there's something they can change with their property, or more lights, keep things locked. And also with that project lockup, there's the ability for the police, or if you have a lot of property where they can buy through the program, I think it costs about $30, and it's a pen that they can write something on their property so that it's only visible through a certain, like probably black light or something like that. And then it would be identifiable so that you can get your property back if it were to ever be stolen. So those are some of the initiatives that they have on through there. And we had 17 reports of theft throughout that time period as well. And 2 were theft of bicycles. 3 of them were gas and dashes from gas stations. 2 of them we contacted the owners, and they're the registered owners of the cars, and it was more of a mistake than anything, and they just forgot to pay. They went back and paid. 1, we didn't identify the person, the plate wasn't obtained. We did have 1 theft from a greenhouse, the cash boxes that are in the greenhouses, and that one there we did identify a suspect, and they were charged. We had 2 other thefts from residential properties, just from backyards or front yards. Those did not have any suspects. A couple of theft of fuel from the industrial area, either by drilling through gas tanks or trying to steal fuel that way, siphoning it. And there was 1 catalytic converter that was stolen from a vehicle in the industrial area as well. And I have 5 other minor thefts of property from motor vehicles, and there was no suspects identified there either. Then that's where that project lockup, and also when I spoke with our citizens on patrol last week, we're going to be starting a program where it's called Lock It or Lose It, where if they're with us, they're not going to do it on their own because they're not in uniform. But if we try a car and the doors are unlocked, we'll leave a little ticket to say, you know, your doors were unlocked, please be more cognizant and keep your doors locked. But yeah, they're not going to do that on their own because you have somebody that's not in uniform or not readily identifiable checking doors, it might not go so well. So
Post it all over Facebook.
sorry.
So they'll get posted all over Facebook.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the breakdown for property crimes. That seems to be one of the things that we've seen a slight increase over the last little bit. We've had a 9% increase over this year compared to last year at this time. Other total criminal code charges, they're up slightly. And if we look at one of the statistics that I guess is a good thing to be up in is the fail to comply breaches. We're still up over this period compared to last year by 250%. And that's just the fact that our members are keeping tabs on those that are bound by judicial orders to either house arrests or curfews, and if they're not there, then we're laying the charges on them and keeping them accountable. To move on for traffic initiatives within the town limits themselves. In September, they only started keeping these data to give it to us. Since September, we did not have any provincial roadside sanctions for impaireds, but year to date, from January to September, there were 8 various roadside suspensions within the town. 6 were alcohol related and 2 were drug related. So they are out checking those things. And where are we here? Within this town, there were over 57 provincial offenses or warnings issued within the town for various traffic offenses such as speeding, intersections, or seatbelts, or cell phones, distracted driving during that period. The schools that we were trying to get into the schools more, however, we only have 1 member that is trained in the DARE program, and when one of our members that was trained in the DARE program left, the RCMP is not training our members anymore in DARE. They are looking for an alternative program, and I know they have started to pilot them in various communities. So as soon as they get those programs up and running and that we can get our members trained, we're looking to get back into the school because we're missing that component of being in there and teaching those programs to the kids. So. With regards to the financial statements, let me see here. Yeah, the municipal overview, that would be on page 5 of 6. So some of these are things that are coming in that they're putting into our reports now. So where we look down, the pay is on track for the kind of the plan that was made. Overtime was slightly increased over that period and year-to-date, but I can report that since September, we have not had to use, since October, we have not had to use hardly any overtime to cover the shift shortages. We do have most of our members back working on the road and working in their positions, so it's been almost non-existent. So that number shouldn't increase very much more for the remainder of the year. And then the other year-to-date expenditures are quite a bit lower than the plan. So we're almost halfway through the year now, and we're not even close to 50% on many of those things, so. With regards to our commissioner guarding, that is lower as well, and we have acquired 3 more guards to help us not use members to actually do the guarding. So that should also decrease the amount of overtime as well. And an update on our membership. This was from July, August, and September. We were, out of our 8 established positions, on page 4. Out of our 8 established positions, we had 5 working and 2 were on leave, and we had 1 hard vacancy. I can say that as of now, we have all of our positions, our 7 positions are filled, and 1 we still have a hard vacancy, and that's our general investigative section position, and we're trying to reclassify that as a general duty member rather than a general investigative member, and that will help us out on the road as well and doing more frontline policing. And I think that's it. Is there any questions on any of that?
Anybody have any questions?
I have one.
No, go ahead, Matt.
Just a quick question. How has things looked on, like especially during the summer, on Main Street in that new 30 zone? Like, have you guys,
Well, we don't need to police that very much, do we?
well, you know,
I know our members were out there looking at it, and just the design of the street makes it a little
Yeah.
bit difficult to travel to there too fast anyway. But yes, they have been out there, and I haven't checked where the speeding tickets are coming from, or if it's right from there, but
Yeah.
I can look into that and see if we.
I was just curious if, you know,
I haven't had any
people are
complaints.
following the posted
Sometimes I
speed
do.
limit.
GMC, black GMC.
Anyways, moving on.
Yeah.
Sometimes I catch myself going 35 there, yes. I had a question and a comment, actually. With the positions being opened, you had 2 open for a while and 1 permanently vacant for the meantime. What does that do to your bottom line as far as your budgeting for wages? And then where does that extra money go to? Because I see your overtime really wasn't spiking at all.
Like when the positions are vacant, where does that money
Yeah,
go
or are
to?
they paid leaves?
They are on a medical leave, but
Okay.
when they go on medical leave, they get put on a medical collator, and I believe that's where it gets kind of put into kind of the whole provincial average. I think we spoke about that before, that when people are off on a long-term medical leave, it gets lumped into a kind of a provincial total, and then that gets distributed among all the municipalities and areas within the
Oh,
province.
okay. Okay, that answers that question. And then the comment I had is, I know I had a lot of problems with some, I think they're transients, but homeless people in the downtown core here. And I don't know if it's cold weather or if you guys are cracking down on them, but haven't seen them around since. I've had no issues with them, haven't seen them walking around. So just wanted to give you guys a compliment on that.
I know in the
because-
summer we had a few people come into town, and usually we got some phone calls, and we checked to see if they, if they were supposed to be here, maybe they needed to go somewhere else, and we kind of helped them in that direction, or,
Mhm.
but yeah, we haven't had any of those type of calls lately,
Yeah,
so.
the one guy that I had a problem with especially, I think he got told to go somewhere else because haven't seen him, which is great.
And some people were stopping through when they were traveling, continue to travel, and then once they move along, they
Yeah,
just.
and that's just the nature of our geographics here. But unfortunately, the one fella, I think, had a few of my things in his pocket
Oh.
that I didn't realize until later, but that's okay. Is there any other questions of Staff Sergeant Cordy?
It's just nice to see you guys doing the stuff at Cruiser again this year.
Mhm. Then we're doing
was
it
a
on the
huge hit.
21st of December, if anybody wants to come out, and hopefully it won't be as cold as last year. We'll be there from noon till 6.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Someone
much.
Like to move that for information?
Information?
Matt? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if I don't see you guys, have a good Christmas.
You
Merry
too.
Christmas.
Too.
Well. Okay, moving on to minutes. Council meeting from November 28th. Somebody can move for adoption.
I'll move those.
Jim? Is there any errors or omissions?
Not that I see.
I was not there.
I can see that.
I was far too busy. All in favor? That is carried. Redcliff Cypress Regional Waste Management Authority meeting minutes. Larry? Any errors or omissions in that? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Moving on to bylaws. Temporary borrowing bylaw.
I'll move first reading.
James, first reading. Any questions or comments on that?
So, this is just something that we do every year. I think you touched base on this last year,
Yeah.
right? Okay,
Yeah, it's just to tide us over until the actual budget kicks in.
okay,
Just like bridge financing.
okay.
Truly
It
not.
looked familiar, but I just wanted to make sure.
Okay. No other questions? All in favor of this for first reading? That is carried. Does somebody want to present it for second reading? Larry does. Any new questions or comments? And all in favor? That is approved. Does somebody want to propose it for
Move
third
it.
reading?
I'll move that.
Okay, this needs to be unanimous to go to third reading in one night. That's Jim. Once again, it has to be unanimous. All in favor? It is unanimous.
Present for third.
Okay. Third, Kathy. Third and final reading. All in favor? That is approved. Okay. Bylaw 1951/2022, the utility rates bylaw. Somebody want to present for first reading?
Yeah.
James? And is there any questions or comments about the utility rates bylaw? Matt?
So, again, just to clarify here, looking under like number 3 where it says water rates, under total, under residential, let's say that's what the increase is going to be, correct? So like where it says 45.58, or actually, sorry, it's a
That's a
decrease.
Yeah.
So that's what the new rate's gonna be, just to clarify.
the old rates in and,
Why can't I get to that?
I kept the old rates in.
It's on page
crossed
3
them
of
out,
6.
And then made
I don't
the
have that.
adjustment so you could see what the difference would be. Cause normally every year we would open up each of the 3 rate bylaws.
Yeah.
And change them that way. This time I just put them all into one, so every year we just have a utility rates bylaw. As opposed to opening and looking at 3, we just do 1.
Okay, that just, again, just wanted some clarification,
You
so,
just,
thank you.
Yep.
Well, Chris is figuring out technology here, and Jim's teaching him.
James, go ahead.
So, what was the reason for the decrease? Not that I'm complaining, but
It was just an allocation from the way wages worked, from admin components to the actual wages in the plant.
Mhm.
So it was just a little bit of an allocation.
okay.
So these are the fixed costs that go down, but then the consumption rate actually goes up. If you go down, it goes from $1.06 to $1.16 a cube.
So it's about a $2 decrease, so you'd have to use over 20 cubes for it to be detrimental to you. And the average home probably uses 3 cubes in a month,
Depending on the house, some are
depending on the season.
10 to 20,
Okay,
and how many people live there.
My house, way more.
more than that? Okay, any other questions or comments about the utility rates bylaw? See none, all in favor? That is carried. Would somebody like to present it for a second reading?
Second reading?
Kathy? Is there any new questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That is approved. Does somebody want to present it for a third? Larry? And once again, this has to be unanimous. All in favor of presenting for a third reading? It is unanimous. And would somebody actually like to present it for the third reading? Jim?
Sorry, I actually do have one more question I just remembered. I'm gonna be
Is there
that
any
guy.
other questions?
Yeah. So, quick question, does this, account for, was this an open? The sewer.
So the utilities rate bylaw will account for our water, our sewer and garbage.
Or we haven't,
So this
I
accounts
just
for a
can't.
5% increase
Okay.
to last year's city rate.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I wasn't sure, I couldn't remember, and I don't wanna buy donuts again. Mike answered my question, thank you.
Okay. That satisfied you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all in favor of this then? And that is carried. Going on to 4C, water billing bylaw. Would anybody like to present
We're on
that?
the table for first reading?
Kathy for first, thank you. Any questions about this? Seeing none, all in favor? That is approved, or carried, sorry. Would anybody like to present for a second reading? Matt, for
Second
second reading? Any new questions, comments?
Yeah, James.
He'll wait till the very end.
I'm gonna wait for third now. I do have a question, I'm just kidding.
All in favor? That is carried.
I'll present for third.
Moving to present for third is late James. Once again, this has to be unanimous. All in favor of presenting for third? That is carried. And would somebody like to move it for third?
I'll move it.
Jim? Any questions before we go to the final reading?
Why are you looking at me?
I see none. All in favor? That is carried.
Stuck your foot in that one.
Moving on to the garbage and collection bylaw.
I was trying to remember, I'm moving too fast. I'll move
I
first
think-
reading.
I'm sorry, sir, are you at the sewer bylaw?
Yeah, you missed one.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Yep,
I
that's where
am
we're
at the
at.
sewer bylaw. Sorry. James, you want to move that one?
I'll
actually?
move that one, yes,
Okay.
that's what I meant.
Sorry about that, guys.
That's what was open on my screen.
Good job, James.
We should put you in the big chair.
Well, I'm waiting for my turn to get the big hammer.
Anybody have any questions or comments about this bylaw? First reading? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Would somebody like to move for second reading? Matt? Any questions or comments here? All in favor? Would somebody like to present it for third reading? Must it be unanimous again?
Why not?
James? Must be unanimous for third reading. All in favor? That is carried. Somebody like to move it for third reading? Larry? And all in favor? That is carried. Okay, moving on to E now. Garbage billing and collection bylaw.
I can do this one.
Matt? Is that you? that
Yeah,
said-
I'll
Yep.
do
Oh,
it.
I'm sorry.
I said you can do this one now,
Oh, no, you can't.
but I'll.
Any
be
questions or
first.
comments on this one? Okay, all in favor? That is carried. Anybody like to do
I'll
a
move
second reading?
second.
I'll move that.
Jim? All in favor of the second reading? That is carried.
I'll present third.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
James for
I
third
just wanna
reading
move this
must be
along, man.
unanimous. And all in favor? That is unanimous. Who would like to read
Move for third.
third? Kathy? And third reading for the garbage collection bylaw, all in favor? That is carried. Fees and rates bylaw. First reading,
Yep.
James. Any questions about that? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Second reading, if anybody would like.
Second.
Kathy? And all in favor of that? That's carried. Present for third reading, must be unanimous.
Present for third.
Matt? And all in favor of the third reading for that? Okay, that is unanimous. Actual third reading? James? And all in favor of the third and final reading? That is carried.
That was a lot of bylaws.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty interesting stuff. We got a letter from Minister Ellis telling us not to worry about victim services.
That's the second letter we've got about that?
Yeah, the last one was from a municipality telling him to smarten up.
Yeah,
No.
first letter from him, I think.
Yeah.
But, well, because there was one from a municipality, and then there was one from the government, and then there was one from that same municipality, and then.
So the first letter from the government was from Minister Chandros.
That sounds familiar. Would anybody like to move that for information so we can talk about it?
Sure, for information.
Thank you, Matt.
You're doing a great job, Chris.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns about it? All in favor? That is carried. Request for decision, capital budget 2023.
Move to approve the proposed capital and operating projects as the 2023 capital budget.
Kathy moves that. Is there any discussion on that?
Yeah, I got one question.
Yep, go ahead, James.
So, for the arena project, currently we have 42.5% funded from grants, and you are still looking for grants to cover, or help cover the remainder 57.5, is that how I read it?
Yep.
Okay. Cool. Do we have that one out for tender yet, or in the new year?
I think it's the tenders being put together right now.
Oh, okay. 'Cause the intent is to have it ready by next fall? Like
Absolutely,
completed?
that we will have the tenders completed and the contractor chosen by end of February so that the work can begin.
Right, so with
Right,
the
right.
intention of being open for next winter?
I believe that is our intention, sir.
Okay,
Cross the fingers.
yeah, obviously things happen, but.
Knock on wood.
The Second Street Northeast Rehabilitation Project, that's approximately a third covered with grants. Is there any other grants to be found there, or is that, we've exhausted that one?
We can always look for more grants, and we always are looking for more grants, but as it stands now, it would be fully funded the way it is.
I guess a better question would have been, do we expect to see anything else?
Probably not, but
Okay.
you never know.
Okay.
If something does come in, then the reserve funding then just goes down.
Of course. Which would be great.
Who's on third could subsidize?
All in favor of that? Any other questions or comments about the 2023 capital budget? Then we will call it to vote. All in favor? That is approved and carried. The operating budget 2023. Anybody like to put that on the table?
I'll move that, it be receive for information and further adopt the presented operating budget as the interim operating budget for 2023.
Option one.
Yep.
Okay. Any comments on that motion?
I just have a question.
Yes.
On there it says interim, so do we vote on this again?
In
Again, it's-
April, yeah, once the provincial stuff comes in for school tax rate.
Okay,
And normally we would have been waiting for our MSI money in this period of time as well, right?
Yeah, we did get notice today. I got a questionnaire. Our 2022 MSI money will be released in the next payment batch. And then we will anticipate receiving our 2023 money June-ish.
June-ish. But in previous times, we never knew what we were gonna get for MSI money. Now, we happen to know. And it's not great, but
Did it go
Not
down
great
again
numbers.
this year?
But there's nothing they can do about it.
yeah.
So with
that's
the
right.
new local government fiscal framework, they've given us our amounts, and yes, the amount did go down a bit. And then RMA and AB Munis have both put presentations forward about how the new local government fiscal framework would work, how it might, the formula might flange out. And the province hasn't told us how it's gonna work yet. So when I looked at everything for the town of Redcliff from both perspectives, we're gonna stay right around where we are, give or take $4,000 or $5,000.
Where we currently are.
What we're getting in 2023. So I'm gonna say we're probably one of the luckier municipalities at this time.
Oh,
Some of them have taken huge hits.
didn't we take a big hit last year, though?
Everybody took a big hit last year.
But they doubled up our previous payment is
Yeah.
why it looked like
Yeah.
we took a big hit.
Yeah,
I
we got
remember
it
the
in a
speech.
year earlier.
Yeah, I remember the speech.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we could spend money while rates were low, is what they were saying.
Because they were so low.
They never seem to be low. But that's what the Almighty told us. Any other comments about this?
I assume that nothing's changed on this from our operating budget meetings.
There were a few changes, because the fees, rates, and charges went. I increased a little bit of revenue in the few areas where those rates went up. We had another month of utilities from the city come in, so the average there went down, so I was able to reduce some costs for utilities. And, there was a little bit of money added in admin for, health and safety.
So are we, with this current model then, sitting roughly around that 5.5% that we talked about?
No, we are down to 3.8,
Oh, okay.
so we actually went down quite a bit.
Well, that'll make his worship happy.
Thank you.
Oh, and you, right. You people with your big houses.
Yes. Any other conversation about this? I'll call it to vote. All in favor? That. And opposed? All right, that is carried, thank you.
Now you got them all kerfuffled there, Jim.
I'm just not happy with the amount that the library's getting, so.
Ah, fair enough.
You made that
So you're
clear with your
against the whole
recorded
budget?
vote.
Pardon?
You're against the whole budget because the library's not getting?
Well, it's part of it.
Okay, fair enough. Municipal manager report to council. Somebody wanna move that for information?
Move for information.
Kathy? Is there any questions about what was in there? Or does Phyllis wanna highlight anything?
I just want to, maybe if it's okay, I want to thank Jason and Mike for stepping up and covering off while Shannon and I are in and out of the courtroom this last couple of weeks.
Okay. No other comments? All in favor to receive for information? That is carried. Okay, garbage graphs.
Love the garbage graphs.
Anybody want to put that on the table?
Sure.
Matt? Any questions or comments about the dump?
The landfill.
The landfill, pardon me? I see none. All in favor to receive for information? That is carried. Municipal banking institution, CIBC is closing down.
People are not happy.
No,
No.
we're not happy.
It is going to be a pain.
I will move for information.
James? Other than the credit union, is Medicine Hat even viable for banking for us?
We're looking into options right now, because we do deal with a lot of cash from our residents. It's gonna be tough to do deposits in the city. We're weighing if we can do it less frequently than we currently are, or if we just go to the credit union here in town. That way we're within walking and, or I guess driving distance, cause it's still a bit far, but closer than the city.
Yeah, and you don't wanna keep money here too. Well, there you go ahead.
When we used to deal with the treasury branch, how did that work?
We walked over there, and then when they closed, we put out an RFP for other banking services, and there was CIBC and Service were the only two respondents. So in this case, if we're sticking with some place in town, it's gonna have to be Service.
Kathy, go ahead.
Has administration expressed their disappointment with CIBC?
I think CIBC has heard from every resident in town that banks there.
Not me yet.
Yes, we have. We moved there in hopes that it would be a long-term solution, and it's been less than 2 years. So, yeah, we're disappointed. What we have to look at are, will the fees be offset if we stay with CIBC or we go back to ATB? Will the amounts that we're being charged, will the cost of gas and staff time to drive in there, will that offset those fees? Or are we, the town is our recommendation to council to go to Service Credit Union? So that's all information Mike has to do some gathering and digging on. Of course, like everybody else, we weren't given a whole lot of notice, but did want to bring it forward to council's attention and look forward to more in the new year.
James, go ahead.
Since we're talking about transporting money and vehicles and so on and so forth, does that just go in a bag with a person, or like?
You want this to be public knowledge?
I'd rather not give you that public knowledge, sir.
Okay, fair enough.
We keep it very safe.
Okay.
It does seem to be a trend, though. My personal bank in Medicine Hat is closing down as well. RBC has purchased all of their services for Canada, so yeah, it's a pain. And I wonder if we do go into Medicine Hat for our town banking, what will our insurance think of that?
That's why I was
Yeah.
asking.
When are they closing? So like,
June 8th, I
June.
believe it
oh,
says.
so
here.
it's
June
not
8th,
like
yeah.
we have to make a decision
No,
by
we do
next
have time.
council meeting, so.
But it is,
Maybe they'll change their mind.
It's
Well,
certainly
they got-
something we'll have to think about.
There's been a petition started and everything, and good,
Oh,
good.
petitions don't do nothing.
I know they don't,
what
but
does CIBC Toronto care about a petition on
Yeah.
here? It's dollars and cents for them. They're not making enough money here or losing money, one or the other.
And then someone drove through their building and that was the final brick.
I'm sure that mattered a lot to them. Any other useful conversation on this topic?
Isn't that what his worship usually says to you?
Yeah, it's nice to say it back. All in favor to receive for information? That is carried. Council, important meetings and events for December for information.
I'll move those.
Mr. Stanky. Anything missing from this schedule? This goes to the end of January?
Yes, sir.
Looks like it.
January 30th, then. Might be a red letter date.
wanna add a council meeting on the 25th?
What's happening January 30th, sir?
Facebook will let you know when that day comes. It is my birthday. Red letter day.
As you can tell,
Nobody cares.
nobody cares.
All in favor? That is passed.
How are you turning the big 5-0 there, Chris?
He's dropping a hint, he wants presents.
Yes, and then Christmas too. Fire truck. Notice of award.
We're buying a fire truck.
We are, apparently. Anybody want to move for information? Larry,
So excited.
what was the bid? Is that, were we privy to that?
Well, it's not final yet because they're still changing things.
No.
We
the-
do anticipate being within the approved bid and what they bid.
Mhm.
But there have been some conversations with fire of some things that we can take out and some things we can add in
Okay,
to make it a better unit for our guys.
more suited for us.
Yeah, that they can get some of their options and,
In Fort Garry, that's a company that builds these?
yes, sir.
Okay,
Yeah, it's in Winnipeg.
I think
Okay.
so, yeah.
sounded more
And they
like
were
a place.
significantly less than, so, and they're gonna correct me, those two. And I'm going from memory. So one of the tenders was not eligible, was not compliant. And the other one, there was a significant price difference. And this is the lowest tender.
Mhm.
Yeah, Fort Garry has been around for generations.
Okay.
I
Trusted
think
in the
the
industry,
truck we
obviously.
have now is a Fort Garry truck.
I think it is.
Do we still have any kind of, timeline?
Four hundred and 32 days.
They actually
And
told you
counting.
that?
That's what we were told when we put the tender out.
Okay. That's very specific. Okay, anything else on that topic? All in favor? That is carried. Streetlights.
Oh, I'll be.
I'm
this
so
one's yours.
excited for this one. When I saw it, you have no idea.
We can't,
Well,
we can't hear how
I
excited
will-
you are yet.
I will move option 1, that we seek further information
James,
on
make it
logistics
quick.
and costs associated with LED street lighting upgrades in the town. What made me even more excited is that his worship wasn't gonna be here for this meeting. So I didn't have to hear his eyes roll from that chair.
Well, I am personally happy, LED finally, because we're probably spending a small fortune a month on electricity for,
I will say
These
on
old
days like
ones.
today though, LED, not the best option. But
Why?
it doesn't cut through the fog. It's very foggy outside today.
Oh,
okay, then I
To-
move that we
to the
get a
chairman.
foghorn.
Yes, Larry, go ahead.
I imagine that this seeking further information would find out what our lower costs would be, because we wouldn't be using as much electricity.
Mhm. So I was a bit confused with this one. So are we receiving it for information, or are we voting on an option, or are we just giving you some guidance?
We just want you to accept for information. One of the things that we do know is, right now, if we were to say, yeah, go ahead, there would be a cost associated to the town. So Jason is working and getting further information on how it all works, what the rollout looks like, what the cost might be to the town. We know the last time something happened, Mike found out through research that the town had a hefty bill. And you probably remember that. Was it like 20 years ago or something? So we are trying to protect our town as best as possible by doing our due diligence and finding out what it would cost if we did it in phases, if we did it all at once, or if we waited and just let it happen as the lights burnt out.
And how many streetlights do we currently,
Isn't it like 800?
roughly? Yeah, I was thinking it was like 800 or 900.
The number I got from the city was right around that 800.
And that's this side and that side of the highway.
That's all of the streetlights that they have on record that are in the town.
Some of which don't work right now.
Well, I know. But you can call a phone number to get them repaired, apparently.
Yeah, I've heard about that. You call the phone number, they tell you to call the town calls it, anyway.
So this illumination study, I assume they want us to pay for it?
I'm
Yes,
okay
sir.
with that.
What's the argument there? Why would we pay for that? It's their utility that they're providing.
I'm gonna mess up the words, so I'm gonna let Jason answer.
Yeah, I think that's all part of what we'd be looking into, because I agree there is a thought that being their utility, that they're the service provider, that would be something that they would have to do. So we're gonna be, I wanted to bring this to your attention now, and more so than anything else, just to let you know that we'll be looking at what the options are, what the potential costs are, if there's any advantage one way or the other, and then bringing back at a later date to let you guys know what we've uncovered.
Okay.
Has anyone determined who actually owns the streetlights?
My understanding, after reading through a bylaw once, is that the city would be at least in charge of the streetlights.
That didn't answer the question.
That didn't answer the question at all. You should be sitting in one of these chairs. You're talking like a politician, Jason.
Or a guy that used to work for them.
Well, I guess I don't 100% know how to answer the question, because in the bylaw implies that the town paid for the infrastructure, but that the city is in charge of the infrastructure, as if we paid for it and then gave it to them, in a way. And I don't want you to quote me on that, but as I read the bylaw through once, that would appear as what transpired.
And I
they're the
have
service
read
provider.
much documentation that doesn't give me a much clearer picture.
So nobody actually knows who owns the streetlights?
I've not found a sentence that says the town of Redcliff owns the streetlights. I have not found a sentence that says the city of Medicine Hat owns the streetlights.
So they're nobody's streetlights.
So if I run one over and I gotta pay for it, who would I make the check to?
Your
Well,
insurance company would make the check.
Okay, who would they
We would
make the check
probably
to?
make the check to us, but we would have had to pay probably the city.
Right.
Cause the city's gonna come out and put it back up.
Yeah, they come out and fix it.
Yeah,
Replace
so,
it.
so I think historically, if I were to guess, I would say it was a contract with the city that we paid for them, and we technically own them, but the city manages them.
So, well, I guess what I'm getting
That's-
at in asking that question is, so if this is something that council decides to go forward with, which I really hope they do,
34
and-
hours, you know?
in going to, you're only one vote, Chris, in going to LED streetlights, is that a project that the town would put out for an RFP and get a tender on, or is that a project that the city's gonna put out and then we're paying whatever the city decides to mark up what the cost of that project was?
That is correct, sir.
But we
will
don't
not-
actually know if they own the streetlights.
That's correct, but we would not be able to tender it out because our street power comes from the city of Medicine Hat. So it would be a City of Medicine Hat project. And depending on the information that Jason has yet to gather, and I'm just surmising, so if this council said, we want to replace all 800 and odd streetlights with LED lights in 2023 or 2024, I would bet dollars to donuts that the town of Redcliff will be on the hook for those costs. If we were to, and I'm just surmising and hypothesizing, if we were to wait, because they're telling us that we're running out of what we have. If your light burns out and they can't put another one of the other ones in, they would have to replace it with an LED, which would probably be on their dime.
Well, and that's kind of the other place I was going with that is if they can't get the parts and they manage the utility, then why is the town on the hook for the cost?
I guess what she's saying is, how fast do we want it? Are we patient? They will probably pay for it. If we want it done immediately, then we might be on the hook for it.
How do we make
Well-
sodium bulbs explode?
I think this is,
I don't want to know that, sir, and neither does the internet world.
yeah. So either way, it's seeking information and come back to us.
Matt had a
So,
comment?
right now, if a light bulb burns out, it's the city that comes and replaces it, right? Who pays for that? Is it us or is it the city that will just come and do it
The
on their
city-
dime?
The city just comes and does it on their dime right now.
That's part of our maintenance.
That's part of our rates.
Yeah, that's our maintenance contract.
Yep,
So with that being said, I think to do a full town thing, then again, when it comes down to it, to do a full town thing and we have to cover the bill, I'm not too in favor of that. I would like to see them, but if it's a time thing where they'll come and just do one at a time and we don't have to cover that bill, then I'm okay with that, so.
I
How-
think that's what we need to find the information out on, sir.
yep.
How many burn out in a year? Do we have that information?
I don't, sir.
I would imagine it's minuscule.
Every night you drive around and count,
I'll do that
and then
tomorrow.
the next night, if you can just get an average, right?
I'll do that. That's a good idea.
Don't forget the 30 zone on Main Street.
Okay, well, so far in my mind, of course, I hate somebody to say this, but I agreement with that we want some LEDs, but I think we're patient and just
That's
do
on
them
the
as they
internet
go.
now.
But just the illumination study just scares the,
Yeah,
We don't know
Crap
much
on it.
about that either, so give
Mhm.
us a bit to find out some more
Okay,
stuff for
sounds
you.
good.
We just wanted to keep you informed.
Through the chair.
yes, Larry, go ahead.
I think we should do the illumination study and just change them to LEDs so we have something that works. Not that we go hodgepodge halfway this way, halfway that way, and end up that we don't have light.
Well, and that's fair to say, but what's it gonna cost?
that's the motion that's on the table, to get administration to look into it and come back to
Yeah,
us with some numbers.
Yeah,
We're still kind of
yeah,
beating
we
a
don't have
dead
enough
horse right
information
now,
here
so.
to
Yeah,
decide,
we're beating a horse that,
And it's just for information.
yeah,
So this will come back to us in the near future.
yep. Give admin time to do their thing.
Yep. Sounds good. Does that give you enough direction that you needed from us? I'm sure there's nothing shocking. So you do want us to move option one?
It's already been moved.
No,
already
it's just
been
for
moved.
information.
No, that
Yeah.
was option one.
Yeah, it's been
Yeah, to
moved.
seek
Now we
information.
need to call a vote.
I take back my previous comment, I rescind it. Great job here, Chris.
All in favor of option one? That is carried. Okay, do we need a recess before we go into? Do you need to?
I need